YouTube, and right now I'm joined by Activision CEO Eric Hirshberg. Eric, great to see you as always.
How you doing, Jeff? Good to see you.
Great to see you, man. So this is a big E3 for Activision,
It is.
and we are very excited because I'm sure hopefully tonight we'll be hearing lots about what you guys are doing with both Destiny and Call of Duty.
Have to wait and see.
We'll see, but I know it's you guys have a great partnership with PlayStation, and we're excited about what you're going to be doing at E3. First of all, I wanted to ask you about E3 in general, because this year is a landmark year for E3. People watching this know we do the show every year, but the fans
Got
get
the fans coming in this year, yeah.
right? And you guys are going to have a lot of playable stuff for fans at the booth.
We are. It's a great. First of all, I think that gamers make all game events better, and we've been kind of on that thought process for a long time, all the way back to our first Call of Duty XP in 2011. I think when if you just do things to the trade or for journalists, it's one thing. When you see the passion of the fans, good or bad, it just makes the energy that much more explosive. And this is an interactive medium. The fans are a part of our finished product. It's a unique art form in that capacity. So I think having the fans here is just going to electrify the whole thing. And it's a good year for that to be happening for us because we've got playable content on Destiny, playable content on Call of Duty. Thousands of people are going to be able to get their hands on our games in the booth, so we're really excited. Yeah,
let's start with Call of Duty World War II. I think you have announced that multiplayer will be a big part of the story here at E3,
Which is only the second time we've ever had multiplayer at E3 playable, and the first time was Black Ops 3, which turned out pretty well, and the team at Sledgehammer is doing a great job. Our entire Call of Duty team globally is doing a great job on this game. We're so excited about it, and that return to the boots on the ground, the gritty, authentic, human scale combat in multiplayer, that's just what we wanted to lead with here at E3. It's looking great. We're going to be revealing our global reveal multiplayer trailer this week, so you'll see that, and I think people are going to be pretty excited about it. I know I am.
Well, and Call of Duty's got a great reaction so far, and that's a franchise that I know you think about a lot. Every year there's a new Call of Duty. And I think one of the things,
it's a unique challenge.
The fans, as you said, it's a challenge, and sometimes you take a risk, you go somewhere, and then fans, want you to pivot a different way. Tell me about, the challenge with that is obviously you're thinking years and years ahead with this because you've got 3 studios, 3-year cycles. So I mean, I even remember with Black Ops when they wanted to push in a different direction and then go a little in the future, and there's always this healthy tension, and now you guys are kind of rolling things back to where it began, and people are really inspired by that. But how great reaction to this. So how does that inform what you're doing next year or the year after? Or how do you plan this out? Because it's really hard.
I think Call of Duty is a unique challenge anywhere in popular culture for something that's been on the top of the charts in its industry for this many years in a row on an annual basis. It's a fairly unique challenge and a privilege. And as you mentioned, we make these games on a 3-year cycle. That means you have to kind of put a little bit of a finger in the wind and see where you think the zeitgeist is going to be at that time. And as you mentioned, when Black Ops 2, we took the franchise into the near future for the first time. That opened up tons of freshness and new experiences for our fans, and one of the things that I think we've had success with in Call of Duty is being kind of widening the guardrails and allowing our developers to really get creative and put their creative thumbprint on each game that we make while still making sure it feels like a Call of Duty game. Now that said, sometimes you come out with a game where it's not on point with what's happening in culture or what's happening in the zeitgeist at that particular moment, and that 3-year cycle, which has so many advantages in terms of the additional polish and the additional experimentation and iteration time. Sometimes it cuts both ways. But this year, I think we've got the right game at the right time, being made by the right team. We felt 3 years ago when we greenlit it that it was time to go back to our roots and time to bring Call of Duty back to that. Like I said, there's a human scale, there's an authenticity, there's a grit, there's a sense of vulnerability with that boots on the ground gameplay, and also a historical event that really happened. And the team has done an amazing job of really honoring the geographies, every playable level, every playable map. They all are real life environments, and it's got a real authenticity to it that's electrifying.
I wanted to ask you about the idea of Call of Duty game coming out every year. There's a lot of talk now about games as services in the industry, these live service games. And, a company like Blizzard is a great example of building content on games that may Overwatch will continue with more content. Call of Duty, you've been on this sort of yearly cycle, and that's sometimes challenging because you have different multiplayer fan bases moving between one to the next. As you look further out in blue sky about where a franchise like Call of Duty goes, where do you see it going? Do you still see sort of the yearly regimen, or does there come a time where multiplayer becomes a separate experience that lives across multiple years?
Well, it's like you helicoptered into meetings that we have inside of Activision all the time. I think that it's it's something we talk about all the time. I think right now we do have the right model because the advantages to the games as a service, as you talked about, are clear. But the advantages to an annual re-engagement event where you bring real innovation and real freshness and real new news can bring masses of people back to a franchise that may have churned out as well. Yep. So I think that I would argue that there's different ways to get to a service and get to a community, and Call of Duty actually has a pretty consistent percentage of its fans that migrate from each game year to year to year, and then there's new fans that we bring in every year too. So if they're coming from last year's game to this year's game,
right.
If they're playing and they're having a good time, even if some of them decide to go back to a previous game that they like better, that's a community too.
Yep.
And we've also started, as of I think Advanced Warfare, we started having these communities live on beyond just the post-launch year. We just released Zombies HD in Black Ops 3, and people are having a blast going back and playing all the old Zombies content, and that's 2.5 years after the release of that game. So wherever the communities are playing and gathering, we want to make sure they're having a great experience, and we want to make sure that there's fresh content for them to play. We've got examples of that living in harmony, over a couple of years now. So I think it's a good model for us.
All right, well, let's switch gears, talk about Destiny 2.
For sure.
A big event a couple of weeks ago, which I thought was one of the best reveal events
Thank you.
in recent memory of Destiny 2, showing so much gameplay of this game across so many different maps and just scenarios. It was really special. And Bungie is a team that had this bold vision for Destiny a number of years ago, and now they've sort of gone back, retooled different aspects, brought out Destiny 2, and I got to say it's looking absolutely incredible. And I think fans will get to play what I got to play a few weeks ago, right?
That's right, that and more. Yeah. So it's going to be Strike is going to be playable. Competitive multiplayer is going to be playable. We've got the first capturable PC gameplay, and also just the scale of E3. You were at our reveal event. That was a few hundred people. This is going to be many thousands of people. So at this scale, it's going to be sort of the first real hands-on experience at this scale, and we're just so proud of this game. If everything that was great about Destiny 1 has gotten better with Destiny 2, and some of the weaknesses of Destiny 1, I think, have become real strengths of Destiny 2. Yeah. One of the reasons we had all that gameplay to show was because when we actually revealed Destiny 2, we really wanted to lead with the story and the characters. Yeah. We wanted to make sure that everyone knew we'd gotten that right, and we had paid really, special attention to that with Destiny 2. So the Cade 6, and Zavala launch pieces were cinematics, and so we had all of our powder dry to show all the playable content that was ready, and we had a full hour on stage of one playable bit of content after another. It was a tour de force for sure.
And big news that you dropped at that press conference that Destiny 2 will be coming to PC, and you're partnering with Blizzard, so it'll be in the Blizzard launcher, which is a really amazing partnership.
It will be the first game not developed at Blizzard to ever be launched through the Blizzard launcher, which is. Obviously, Blizzard's a team that knows a thing or two about great PC games, and they're great partners to us at Activision, and we've helped each other wherever it makes sense. The two divisions have worked together really well in the past, and this just seemed like a great opportunity. We think that the Destiny fans are going to love being on the Blizzard launcher, and hopefully some Blizzard fans get introduced to Destiny as well.
So the business model for Destiny, I think when it first came out, people were wondering, it has these kind of, this living world, shared world experience, but you guys were very clear, hey, we're going to sell you a game, and then there'll be expansion packs. For Destiny 2, is it going to be sort of a similar model again, where you'll have the game come out this year, and then you'll sort of update it in, big chunks?
Yes, but after a hard reset that starts with Destiny 2, and that was a big discussion as well, as you can imagine, because people have invested a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of passion into Destiny 1. But we felt, again, you've got this, there's good and bad either way you go, right? If it's a persistent world that lives on forever, you know that there can be this huge disparity between a new player who's interested in getting started and their friends who've been playing for a couple of years. And we wanted it to be a welcoming place for everybody. So what we've done, and I think the Bungie team has done a really superb job of finding all these very meaningful, clever ways to have, if you're a longtime Destiny player, you're going to feel honored, you're going to feel that your time was meaningful. But right in the narrative, right in the plot, is an attack on the homeland, is an attack on the tower, an attack on Earth. Everybody loses everything. So we all go back to zero together. And I feel like because we found a way for it to make sense in the narrative, everyone kind of accepted it. And when we announced it, Obviously, there's a lot of opinions in the world, but it seemed to go pretty well.
Oh yeah, no, it looks incredible. We can't wait to see more of that. Yeah. Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you sort of overall about where Activision is going.
Sure.
You're doing things like the Crash Bandicoot remaster coming out later this month, which is great. I think a lot of people wonder, hey, it really feels like there are two big franchises now: Call of Duty, Destiny. When you think longer term, I mean, I think some people say, hey, Activision, they only do the biggest things. They do these blockbusters. I mean, where do you want to take the company in the future? I mean, is it, you've flirted with some indie stuff, King's Quest, things like that. Could there be another big third franchise? I mean, how do you see, the Activision portfolio changing over the next couple of years?
I think I have no announcements today.
Yeah,
obviously, all of the above. All of the above are on the playlist, and all of the above have things, real things in operation and development that we're exploring right now. You see us doing, first of all, Skylanders was an experimental thing a few years back that was a new genre that had never existed before. That's a franchise we're still servicing and interested in different ways, obviously. But that's something we're still behind. You see us doing things like Crash Bandicoot and seeing if, I grew up on Crash Bandicoot.
It looks incredible.
And it looks great. The team at Vicarious Visions has done just a superb job of bringing it to life and modernizing. And then, of course, the next big thing is something we're going to try to figure out as well. And like I said, no announcements today, but you will, when we go, that we go big, and we try to do things on a very high level. And we try to do just a few things so that what we do, we can do exceptionally well. And that's kind of been our company's philosophy, and it's served us well, because when you focus all of your energy and all of your creative talent and all of your best people against getting a couple of things right, you give yourself a better chance of making a big impact and doing something that gamers are going to love.
Absolutely. Well, I got to say, I know sometimes the fans have lots of opinions about the games and the franchise and Activision.
It wouldn't be gaming without them.
No, and it feels like this is the year where I think you guys are, really dialed in with, Call of Duty. Everyone's excited about. Destiny had an amazing reveal. Like, it's going to be a big E3.
What a difference a year makes.
But that's gaming, and it's great to have you with us, and we're excited to see everything at E3. So thanks for joining us, Aaron.
Great to be with you, Jeff.
Really appreciate it. All right.